This is pretty unique. I'll try to explain as quickly as possible. A lot's going on here. These are felt tips that I cut off here. It's not the ideal thing to be using, but because there's an adhesive cover on this side, and I don't want the adhesive cover to come off because then it would put the adhesive on the string. So it'd be nice if it didn't have that, but it works for felt tips anyway. Maybe that actually helps the sound, I'm not quite sure. But anyway, the ones that are lowered, so these 5 and then this one and this one, those have kind of a split tone thing going on. And they're like that because I've separated those out because they were kind of marked as failed experiments in a way, because I wanted to mess with the una corda pedal. The una corda lifts, or it doesn't lift, it moves everything to the right. If you see the hammers, they all move to the right, which makes those hammers strike only 2 of the 3 strings ideally. But these don't do that, unfortunately. They don't get over quite enough, because I think the string lengths or the string widths are a little bit different on each note, and it doesn't quite line up perfectly, unfortunately. So I wanted to create sort of 2 different sound effects with the una corda down and up, and kind of play with the gradations of that as well. So those don't do that, but the compromise is that it actually still, or the I guess consolation is that you can have really cool sounds with just no una corda, just as it is. The 2 pitches are really different. The one that's on the right 2 strings is flattened, and then the clean string that's not being prepared is, more or less in tune with it, with the instrument and everything, and the pitch is supposed to be. And together, you get that split tone. It's a great sound effect. And it just works really well for those notes in particular. These felt pads really flatten the pitch in a really effective way, and I think it has a good sound to it. Okay, so those are those. Obviously, those are the unprepared ones because it won't make a difference. If I put this over on these, una corda, no una corda, it won't make a difference. It will still sound pretty much the same. So I've isolated the ones that actually do only hit 2 of the 3 strings on the una corda pedal, and those effects are really very interesting. These are the new sort of cup hooks, I'll start calling them, because that's how I bought them at the hardware store. Cup hooks, 1 1/4 inch brass, and yeah, they work well on these specific notes, actually, on these specific strings. They didn't work on the ones next to them, actually. And I think it's because of the distance between the strings. So these strings were tight enough together so that these screws, fishhook or cup hook screws, could make the could really have a tight fit and make a sort of a full enough sound that really activates all of that metal. And you can hear a great difference. Here's the no una corda, and here's with una corda. And here's the other one. And I love that sound. I love how subtle the difference is, and it just activates the metal in a very not necessarily on-off switch, but because it's such a gradation of striking it harder, so that this una corda really has a lot of variety in the sound because of it activating to a greater or lesser degree based on how hard you press the pedal, the left pedal down here. It's the leftmost pedal. So that's really cool. The next big aspect is the other stuff, the bolts. Those are, if I can remember correctly, those are the 832. Let me think here. Are they the 832? Yes. They should be the 832s, yeah, versus the 10. So they're the smaller of the two bolts I did today, size 8. Those sound really cool too. Let's see if I can find it. And so this pitch collection is kind of just was what it was because it's what works. I didn't really select these pitches. I'll talk about that in a second. But anyway, here are the bolts. And here they are with the una corda. So that kind of has a louder sound when I lift that up, when I lift the una corda up. But interesting enough for the screws, I feel better doing the opposite for those. So in terms of where the sort of the emphasis is, I feel like the emphasis works well with the una corda down. And then the other one is whenever I lift the una corda up is when you have the emphasis for the cup hooks. And it kind of makes for a nice transition between the two, because whenever I'm down over here on the cup hooks, I can start the soft point for the bolts. I guess it's a loud point. I guess it works either way. I mean, it's just the way it transitions, but it's a really cool effect. And like I was going to say, these the strings or the notes that I'm picking out are completely just by chance, because it's whatever worked on this particular piano, maybe on this particular day. But these materials, you know, have split tones here, and I didn't really select that. It's just what worked. And then it started to actually have the una corda work over here for these notes. And then on top of that, the next layer is these cup hooks or bolts. I didn't really choose that either. It's what works. I think the bolts would work across the board, but I wanted to work in the cup hooks wherever I could, because it has a different timbre and a totally different effect to this sort of multi-layered sound effect created by multiple elements, including the una corda pedal, to help activate and deactivate different parts of the setup.